Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Now, hopefully everybody is up to speed with the Dillian Whyte and the WBC situation. If you're not, you don't have to go back too far. Just go back to my video for yesterday and the day before. So there's two videos where you can watch just so you're fully up to speed, just so I don't have to go through it all again in this video. So I'm not repeating everything for those who already have heard. Now, Dillian, and I'll put the article in the description box, has given his reasons as to why the WBC don't seem to really want him fighting Deontay Wilder. And I'll put the article in the description box for you guys to go have a read as always. And make sure you click the subscribe button before you go over there and have a little watch of it, or read of it, I should say. So, Dillian's reason are the reasons that I've been saying to you guys for probably about a year or so now, which is that the WBC just want to protect Deontay Wilder. They don't want him in dangerous fights, in fights where he could really lose that WBC title. He's had a couple of banana skins in two fights where he should have won quite soundly, in Luis Ortiz and Tyson Fury. He should have won those fights, especially Tyson Fury at this stage of his comeback, but he got exposed badly for the fake fraud champion that he is. Now, Dillian Whyte says that the reason that the WBC are protecting Wilder and won't allow Dillian Whyte to fight him is because, first of all, they know that Dillian Whyte will beat him, but also the fact that Deontay Wilder is American. The WBC need an American heavyweight champion because they haven't had a heavyweight champion in a long, long time. So they're just clinging on to it for all it's worth, which is why they have been allowing Wilder's been champion for, what, 4 years and 4 months now? 4 years, 5 months now, actually. Where, as of right now, he's only fought one mandatory in that entire time. He's supposed to have one every year. So him fighting Dominic Breazeale next will be his second. So, in theory, you should say that Deontay Wilder owes the WBC a couple more mandatories to catch up. But the WBC won't do that, they won't enforce that. But if they ever did, it would be PBC fighters. Now, Bermane Stiverne was the first mandatory. No, he's not a PBC fighter, but he fights for Don King. Don King and Mauricio Sulaimán's father had a great, great close relationship. So Mauricio is always going to do whatever is best for Don King. Don King could get Trevor Bryan and say, hey, Mauricio, I want him fighting Deontay Wilder next, and it will be done. Okay, it's that easy for Don King. But it does appear from the outside looking in, and so many people, I mean, thousands and thousands of people have been saying this, that it seems that the WBC have a very, very tight relationship with Al Haymon and the Premier Boxing Champions, or the PBC if you like, which is wrong. It's morally wrong. No sanctioning body should have any kind of close relationship with any promotional company, isn't it? It can go down as a conflict of interest when they do their own rankings. Otherwise, you might as well just call it the PBC belt. Just look up and down the rankings through all the weight divisions, and you'll see that the PBC fighters are stacked within the WBC. It's absolutely disgusting, to be honest with you. And this is one of the things that I said as well, that because Dillian is, first of all, not American, and second of all, he's not on the PBC platform, he isn't going to get a title shot. Even though he's been number one for a long time, he's a WBC silver champion, he's taken on loads and loads of tough fights, and yet they won't make him mandatory. They won't put him in there with Wilder. Even Wilder said that he's going to freeze out Dillian Whyte for the next 2 years. And the WBC are perfectly happy with this. The WBC would order a rematch with Tyson Fury. I love Tyson Fury, as I said yesterday. But Tyson Fury should never have got that title shot in the first place. Because when he beat Vladimir Klitschko, 3.5 years ago, he wasn't even ranked in the WBC. He was ranked in the WBO. He was a WBO mandatory. So he comes back, he fights Sefer Seferi and Francisco Pianeta, two cab drivers. And suddenly gets elevated to number 3 in the WBC. Why? Money. That's all it is for the WBC. Everything's money. That's why they make those stupid belts. And Mauricio Sulaimán keeps on sticking his ugly face in front of a camera whenever there's a big fight night on. Much like this one with Canelo and Jacobs later on today. He just always wants to be making these stupid belts, wasting money. Money that Dillian Whyte is putting into their pocket, but he's getting nothing back because he's paying sanction fees for the silver title. But anyway, all that aside, it seems that the WBC just don't want Dillian Whyte. And for me, as I said yesterday, I wish that there was a way that we could all just protest it, do petitions, do something to boycott the WBC over their handling, not just of Dillian Whyte, but a great many things. But these guys are so inside their own bubble that they just don't live in the real world, and they wouldn't listen anyway. Okay. But yeah, as Dillian Whyte says, when Dominic Breazeale fought Eric Molina, Dominic Breazeale became the manager, even though Dominic Breazeale was ranked like number 10 and Eric Molina was ranked like number 13 or 14 in the WBC. So Dominic Breazeale became the mandatory because he was supposed to fight Bermane Stiverne. Bermane Stiverne was a Don King fighter who was installed as mandatory, even though he'd done nothing, literally nothing, and he got the mandatory situation. So that's their reasoning for giving Dominic Breazeale the mandatory, because Bermane Stiverne pulled out of that fight to go fight Wilder. So Dominic Breazeale already had an agreement in place that if he'd have beaten Bermane Stiverne, he'd have become the manager. But because that fight didn't happen, they allowed him to fight Eric Molina, of all people, which is absolutely disgusting. And as Dillian Whyte says there in the article, Eric Molina was banned. He failed PED test. Now, nobody knew about that. I'm presuming that the WBC did know about that because they employ VADA. That they have their own WBC clean boxing program who employ VADA. So Eric Molina, he failed a PED test when he fought Joshua. So a year or so later, however long it was, he then fights Dominic Breazeale when he should have been banned. So that fight should never have happened in the first place. So there's that one. The whole thing is absolutely disgusting, to be honest with you. And Mauricio Sulaiman, your father will be ashamed of you. He really would. I mean, the WBC has a prestigious history, especially at heavyweight, where the best fight the best. The WBC title is on the line for the biggest and the best fights around. Historically, that's how it's happened. But since Wilder's got the belt, who the hell has he been defending against? Eric Molina was one of them. Arthur Spilka. He even tried to fight Andre Wawrzyk. Johan Duapa. Come on now. Gerald Washington. Come on now. So why is it that Dillian Whyte's been paying the sanction fees? For what? What's he getting back out of it? It's almost at the point now where I kind of wish that Dillian Whyte would just get that belt and publicly burn it and just get rid of it. Why is he paying the WBC? For what? You don't need to be WBC Silver Champion to be number one. So it's almost pointless. So you're paying the WBC to just keep on messing you about. But either way, it just seemed that they want to keep Dillian Whyte away from Deontay Wilder because they are frightened to death that Dillian Whyte will bash him up. And Dillian Whyte will bash him up. But we know that Al Heyman, Shelley Finkel are in the ear of Mauricio Sulaiman, or we presume that they are, saying, no, Mauricio, we don't want that fight. We need to keep in-house fights, okay? And we're happy for Wilder to fight anybody within the PBC because if Wilder loses, at least we've still got the belt. Do you understand? It's a little bit of money. So that's why they're not going to risk it. That's why they're not even going to risk him fighting Anthony Joshua for no amount of money. Because they are afraid that the WBC title is going to be taken away from the PBC. They are scared to death of it. And the WBC are helping them out with this situation. They don't want Dillian Whyte in there. Dillian Whyte would remove Deontay Wilder's jaw. He'd crack his ribs. Wilder will be face down, ass up, asleep. He's an absolute coward. He's always been a coward. He's always been afraid to step up for anything meaningful. And as we know, Deontay Wilder has his next 3 fights planned out, which is Dominic Breazeale next, of course, on May the 18th. Then it will be a rematch with Luis Ortiz, who, well, we only seen that fight, a year ago? Why didn't we see it again for? What's Luis Ortiz done to get a title shot again? He beat Daniel Martz, Razvan Kajanu, Travis Kaufman. Wow. Dillian Whyte has defeated Lucas Brown, undefeated former WBA regular world champion. Lucas Brown, Joseph Parker, and Derek Chisora. That's far more impressive than what Luis Ortiz has done. So why is Luis Ortiz getting next? Then it'll be Adam Kaunaki. Adam Kaunaki, decent fighter. Very decent fighter, and he's very capable of defeating Deontay Wilder. But Adam Kaunaki, if you look at the resumes, his best wins will be Gerald Washington, Charles Martin, and Arthur Spilka. That'll be his best wins. It's not bad for that stage of his career. I'm not knocking it. But Dillian Whyte has done far more than any of those. So Deontay Wilder will fight Breazeale next, then Ortiz, then Kownacki, and the WBC are perfectly happy with this for him to skip over the number one in the WBC in Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte's not happy about it. Of course he's not. And he knows full well that WBC are protecting him. Anyway, article is in the description box. Go give it a read. Click the thumbs up to this video and, of course, subscribe. Catch you all on the next one.